So let's take an example, at a bookkeeping company, and we needed to get a loan. So we were gonna get a loan from Craft 3, we'll talk about that more later. But one of the things we wanted to prove is what is a market capacity for bookkeepers in Spokane? Well, the people who are bookkeepers to do payroll are typically those with less than 10 to 15 employees. So I went in and asked Mark Pond, how many businesses in Spokane have less than 25 employees? You know how long it took him to figure that out? 3 minutes. I said, well, how many have less than 10? That was the same database. So I happen to have the number, 11,000, by the way, businesses are registered in Spokane County with less than 10 employees. Those are all the potential customers. So I said, Mark, can you tell me how many bookkeepers there are in Spokane? She went through and found out there was 135 bookkeeping companies for 11,000 companies. Does that sound like there's too many bookkeepers? Not near enough bookkeepers. So a lot of people are doing the books on their own. So when I took those numbers and we went to Craft 3 to get a loan, it took us 4 days to get approved. And we go, yeah, you're in a market where there's definitely needing people, and we had a nice little plan of what we were going to use the money for, and so that was all good, right? So we got the loan and moved forward with that. So when we're looking at trying to grow our company, and you want to know how many archery companies are out there making targets, how many targets are being sold annually, I have a suspicion he'll have a database that'll get you there, okay? And these are citable databases. These are not, it's not Google. All right, we are not dealing with that. So when we're looking at this kind of information, you want to know how many gallons are being produced annually? I'm pretty sure he could find that for you. I'm sure there's a government agency tracking it someplace, right? So anything that's being tracked by anybody is available through those different sources, okay? So how many photography business, you know, I have no idea. All right, so that's one of the resources you guys are going to use, okay? But to do that, I want you to go out and meet those people and then come back and we're going to talk about that. Let's now go on to why and how we pitch. When do we pitch?
All the time. Oh, all the time, yeah.
Every minute of every day you are pitching. Why do we pitch? We pitch to communicate in a very concise way. It's about how do we communicate to others exactly what we need. So when we go out and we want to go to a professor and you say, Professor, I need to extend my due date because I've got X, Y, and Z occurring and I won't get this homework done on time, right? But when that occurs, what are you doing? You're pitching a proposal to the faculty member that I'd like an extension on my due date because of the X, Y, Z, and this is what I'll do in exchange. That's a pitch. So Keegan, you go out there and you start working for a company and you invent and you're working with your teammates, you know, on your design team, and you come up with a new modified way to approach the problem. What are you going to do?
Pitch it.
To
whoever it would
to your
go
team
under.
First.
Oh,
and if the team agrees with you, then the team is going to put together a different pitch to pitch to the higher ups, right? The higher ups are pitching to whom? Investors. Yeah. Well, it depends how. Okay. As CEO, I was pitching all the time to investors to bring investment in to keep the company afloat. I'm pitching our product as a CEO, as a program manager, as traveling sales. I was pitching my product to various people around the United States. Buy my product because my product is better than everybody else's. So, Jason, you worked out in insurance. Mm-hmm. What were you doing?
Well, pitching.
You were pitching your insurance. You were given a pitch plan. Here's how you go and convince somebody to buy insurance, right? Mm-hmm. There's a very specific method they wanted you to follow. I am going to teach you guys a number of different things. But one of several of the things that we're going to be covering is exactly how do we pitch at the end of Commercialization Academy, because you're going to be pitching for some money at the end. I'm going to put 10 grand up, all right? The companies within this group, the 7 of you, get to split the 10 grand. I'm not judging. I will teach you how to do it. I will coach you. I will get you ready. I will bring some people in out of the investment community, and we'll go somewhere. We'll have a little short pitching competition. You're going to I'll give you 7 minutes, and you can get up there and pitch your idea to the investors, and they'll rate which one of you is the best, and they'll decide how to divide the money up. Okay? Now, I'm not saying you're going to be perfect at your pitch at that point, but by throwing 10,000 out, does that going to help you think about taking this a little more seriously? Right. You could win all 10 grand if you're much, much better than everybody else in the room, or maybe at least make a couple grand. Okay? So I'm throwing that out there to encourage you. Why am I throwing any money at all at it? Because you're going to go and do a bigger pitch for 55,000. What happens when you put money on the line? I'm an incredible pool player, and so you still put money on the table. I choke. As soon as somebody bets me $1 on a shot, I can't make it. It's terrible. I go out there, play pool with everybody, clean the board every time, and then somebody goes and puts $5 down. $5 next game. I'm done. I might just hand them the $5 and quit. Okay? The money puts pressure on you. It puts a seriousness on you. So the first time you do it, I'm going to do it here safely with just us, safely with the people here in this room instead of investors, a small amount of money to try to get over that hurdle. Okay? Is fair enough? All right. So we need to learn how to pitch. Now there's a whole bunch of different kinds of pitches that we do, from pitching to our boss to pitching to the roommates. But when we talk about pitching for your business, as the owner and founder of a company, you have to pitch what you're doing. You have to pitch what your idea is. Now, we talk about elevator pitches, and there's a whole bunch of elevator pitch competitions. An elevator pitch is literally, you have until you get to that person's floor to convince them, right? Can you sell your entire business in 30 seconds? Is that what you're trying to do? You're shaking your head no, Jason. Ever go fishing?
Yeah.
Okay. So, would we throw stuff in the water? Okay. Are we trying to convince a fish to jump in the boat? No, we're trying to do what? Hook them on a lure. And then we're going to drag them onto the boat. I want you to think of the elevator pitch as that lure, hooked onto a string. You're throwing it out there to hook onto that investor and drag them back to your office and give them a longer presentation. So I was riding the Chase elevator one day up to Ag Energy right after it first started. And when I walked onto the ground floor, got in the elevator, the guy goes, "Okay, let's hear it. I want to hear 30-second. I knew who he was. I knew he was an investor up on the 14th floor. And he pushed the 14th floor, and I didn't push my 7th floor button. I was going to take all 14 floors. And I gave him a pitch to the 14th floor, and he goes, "Okay, you got me. Let's go to my office." And so I went in his office, and I gave him a longer pitch. The idea of the elevator pitch, and by the way, that's the only time it ever worked. It didn't work that way, and I did this for 10 years. But once I got an elevator pitch, actually in an elevator. Okay, I don't know if anybody else has ever done it in an elevator, but the 30-second pitch is oftentimes used at networking events. You go up to somebody at a party, give them the 30 seconds version. Do you want to give them a 3-4 minute talk? No, why not?
They're gonna get bored.
They're going to get bored and walk off. God, the guy would shut up. Okay? You don't ever want that. You want to leave them wanting more. You want them to start asking questions. Your 30-second pitch is to hook them and want them to get them to want to ask you questions. I want to know more. Don't leave me hanging. The 30-second pitch is all about leaving them hanging. Okay? So they say, "Oh, I need to know more about what you're doing." That is when you got them hooked. All right, I'm going to give you another story of how effective this can be. So I went, we'll go back to the NSA one. We had a meeting. We were trying to pitch to the security agencies the cooling of a certain electronic suite. I have no idea what it did, but I just knew they had X number of VME boards that needed to be cooled. And so we went in there, had a slide deck that talked about what the problem was, what the solution was, and then the details of all the solution. Okay, I had 15 slides. I was ready to go. Get up in the room, walk in the room with Paul. Paul was the director of the NSA. We reported to President Clinton at the time. And we walked in and goes, "Well, this is Mr. Johnson, this is Mr. Johnson, this is Mr. Johnson, that's the customer." Didn't mention the other 3 people on the other side of the room, but I will bet you their name was Mr. Johnson. Okay? How many of them were named Johnson? Okay, you guys are not cluing in here.
None.
None. Okay. What's his name really? The customer? No, he just was a customer. But like I found, so anyway, that's how we started the meeting. Kind of got great. I get in there, I introduce myself, I introduce our company, I introduce what their problem was, and I told them what their solution was, and the customer stood up. You go, crap. Anyway, so he goes, when can you deliver? 6 months. How much do you want? $500,000? Done. He turned around and walked out the door. The other 6 stood up and walked out. Fastest sale I've ever made. Still have no idea what they did with the box, but we made the box and got it done, got it delivered, and got more boxes ordered. Okay? But why was that, and what did I do right that I learned that day? Start off by telling the customer what their problem is. Exactly what the problem is. Demonstrate that you know what is wrong. So Marco, what's most of the problem that they have? Your wire's out of date. Make sure you know what type of wire they have and how many linear feet they have when you start talking to them. This is the problem you've got, okay? Pull numbers out of your hat. That's by changing out to this other cable, your reliability goes up, your speed goes up, whatever it is, but have those numbers on the top of your head. Because the second slide I put up was, here's how I can fix it. This is exactly what's going to happen if you buy my system. Here's the data, and I had data up there, I had analysis. So those 2 slides are all that you need. Second one is presenting them with the solution that solves their problem. Your problem is A, my product B fixes A. As clear and concise as you can be. How many words do you want on the slide, did I tell you?
I don't remember how many you said.
No more than 36. No more than 6 rows and no more than 6 words in any one row. And in fact, the fewer they have, the better. That's it. The slides that won that contract, there was probably only about 4 lines on each one with 4 or 5 words and a couple numbers. So they're easy, quick to see the solution. Plus I had the numbers in my head. What were all the rest of the slides there for? Why did I have 15? What happens after that? How? The next slide you're going to put in there is how. How are you going to solve that problem? All right? This is what my solution is, but then we're going to go into details of how we solve that problem. So if I have a 30-second pitch, I may or may not put that one in there. Okay? So we'll have 3 or 4 slides explaining how that problem, and I've got another presentation online that you can watch exactly on. It's up there, isn't it, Matthew?
Should be.
Okay. So go online, you can see I've got a slide presentation on exactly how to pitch for your set, what goes into your 10 slides. Because when you go into a 7-minute pitch, you're only going to have 10 slides. 1 is the introduction and 1 is the conclusion. So there's only 8 slides of value in that 7-minute pitch. Okay? And I give you exactly what those 8 slides are going to be. Okay? But when we go through and after we describe, how your product solves that problem, the details, what else am I going to put in there? How quickly can I do it? What is my time frame? And when we're talking to investors, what else are they going to want to see? They want to see the hockey stick chart. What does the hockey stick chart look like? What is a hockey stick chart? Everyone has a hockey stick chart, and it looks like this, this is time, this is revenue, and it goes like this. Every business makes that claim. That they're going to start off not making a lot of money, but then they're going to accelerate and they're going to become a billionaire in a week, right? Every investor wants to see that chart, even though we know it's a lie. They just want to see what your lie looks like. That is coming off your pro forma. This is your future this is today at 0, okay? What they want to see is what you're doing in 5 years. I want to see that you estimate and you believe that your business is going to grow over the next 5 years, okay? I want to know that you think it's going to accelerate and take off, that you truly believe it's going to do that. If you don't have a hockey stick chart, if you say that my company, let's say we're really not too smart and we're making money now, but we know that we're go like this. Do I want to invest in your business? Oh, that means you're planning on going broke in a couple of years. That's not the kind of company I want to be involved with. I want to go with somebody who believes in themselves, right? So you're going to put together a pro forma to estimate how quickly you're going to grow, okay, and what your needs are. Now, I'm not going to believe, nobody's going to believe those are the actual numbers, and they're going to work with you and sit down with you and go through it in gory detail and make sure that that's realistic before they invest, but at least they know what your lie was. I keep saying your lie, but the reality is your best estimate, okay? And everybody has an estimate, and everybody believes in themselves. Just how much do you believe in yourself, and what do you think it's really going to do, okay? Next one's milestones. What are the milestones you're going to reach? What do you need to accomplish to make that hockey stick happen? Okay? Milestones are saying by this date or this month or this quarter of a year, I'm going to have the following done. And if I have these things done at this pace, then that hockey stick is real. They just need to know what are the major events. They don't want to know the details that I'm going to go and buy materials on this date. No, they want to know when the major things are going to happen. How many milestones should you have?
I don't know.
4 or 5. You don't want hundreds of them up there. You just want the 4 or 5 main things. What are the big things I got to hit before this happens, right? Is there anything else you want to share with them? Yeah, tell me who your team is. If you've got time, present the team. So, in your case, you already have a board of directors. It's going to be the 4 of you guys, plus your board of directors and any advisors that you have. Okay? This is my advisory team. This is my board of director team. This is our research team. This is who we are. And you're going to have some information about each of those people so they know, do you have the skill set to make this business work? Does that make sense? Can you put this together, or do you have holes in your personnel? Okay? Right now, all of you are kind of going, well, I don't know if I have the skill set to pull this off or not. Okay? But what I'm just saying is, we're going to work on that. Okay? So let's say, Keegan, you don't have enough personnel to do all the skills you need. What are you going to do?
Try to reach out to people, see if I can find more.
Contractors, consultants. Bring in consultants to fill in the holes. Don't bring in more business partners. That's just splitting up the business some more. What's the best part about a consultant?
No equity.
You can fire them.
You can fire them or lay them off if they give you the right answer. Consultants come in, give you an answer, then they leave. They don't have any stake in the game, so they're just going to give you an honest answer because they make their money on giving honest answers, and then they go away and you don't have to pay them anymore. You have no obligation to them. But when you have these consultants on your list of personnel, what does that do? Shows you have access to that information when I need it, and only when I need it. Okay? So this is what we're communicating to the investors. And then the last slide is going to say what?
Any questions?
No. Start with thank you. Start with thank you for listening. Something along those lines. Investors appreciate being thanked. They don't get thanked very often. Stand out. Don't put any questions. That's a demand. End with a compliment. End with a compliment, not a demand. Right? Are there any questions? Is taken as a demand. Of course I'm going to ask you questions. That's why we have Q&A. All right. But end with, thank you for listening. By the way, here's how you can contact us. And then put all your contact information up there. Now, I used to be highly, highly opposed to QR codes. Not as much so anymore, but it's actually better if you do at least provide your web page, your email, and your phone number. A phone number that they can contact you. I resist the QR codes for a few more years yet. Why? Because most of the investors don't do QR codes yet. They're changing. It's a new technology. Give them time. Most of the investors in this community are older than I am and really don't want it. And I've seen some of them still have flip phones, okay? Some of them have moved fall tech with the technology, and others say, screw it, I'm not gonna learn anything else new, okay? So, kind of fill the room. Now, Michael, I know you, I'm trying to think if you did this for me. No, it was somebody else. What comes next in your slide deck?
Like after saying thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is that the end of the slide deck? That's the end of the slide deck that you give them.
Thank you guys for-
That if you email them a slide deck, that's what they get. What are you gonna have after that?
Backup slides if you need to explain more.
Backup slides, if you anticipate the question. You sit down with your team and you try to anticipate what question are these people going to ask. You're not trying, this is not the negotiations. This is the big fish hook. This is the net. Okay? So you got them with the 30-second pitch to go allow yourself to do the 10-minute pitch. 10-minute pitch is still not writing the contract. That's when you get them in the boat. We're trying to land them in the boat. I want to develop confidence in that person that I know what I'm doing. Right? If you set up a question, it's even better. If you get good enough, you know how to set a question in there so you know they're going to ask you a question. Hey, I happen to have a slide about that. And you jump to the next slide and it's a question that they just asked. That's when you know you've nailed them. Okay? Because I've anticipated the question. I usually have 3 to 4 slides of questions I always expect them to ask. That everybody always asks these 3 questions. So I got slides just to address the 3 standard questions that people always ask. Because I gave the same pitch so many times, you get to the point you know what they're going to ask, right? So you try to address that in the slide deck, but that's making the slide deck even longer. So after a while, I learned, don't. It makes you look more prepared if you knew what questions people were going to ask. And you're going to say, yeah, I have a slide just about that. And you pull the slide up and you discuss the details. So a lot of times the details they're asking about is, what is a market growth? Well, I didn't put that in there, did I? Well, you have a slide on market growth. This is where the market's been growing over the last 20 years. Here's where they're estimated it going. And you go, great, you've looked into that. What other things do investors want to know? Do you anticipate any technological changes that are going to cause your current product line to have to adjust? Are there any technological changes that may cause it to adjust? Well, you're on Cat 6 and it may go to Cat 7, right? How is that going to affect your business? Not, right? But that's what you need to tell them. They're going to say, do you anticipate any changes in the technology that you're going to have to adjust to? And you put it up there, say, Cat 5, Cat 3, Cat 5, Cat 6, we're all basically the same technology to pull them through the wire. Cat 7 is the same thing. It handles more data and so forth, but it's not going to affect me at all. I can pull 7 just as well as anything else. I'm not pulling 7 because nobody wants to pay for it yet, right? But you have that on the slide. How does that make you look? You're studying the future. You're studying where the industry's going. I'm anticipating the industry, and my product is going to stay right with the industry as it changes. Okay? Invest in me and keep me going because I know I can keep being active, right? So what would you be doing on yours? Anticipating in environmental changes. Anticipating any regulatory changes, right? Anticipating any coatings on vehicles that might be coming down the pipe. So you can say, this works now and it's going to work into the future, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at the same thing. You know, is there going to be something coming through down the line? Hey, what we're doing here is going to stay within the medical field. It's not going to be changing. It's a very steady system. It's been going this route for years, right? And we can adapt it into other technologies and whatever, right? But you're trying to anticipate the future in one of those slides. Does this make sense? So this is what we're putting together. So I have a very much more detailed slide on pitching, the 10-minute pitch, and answering questions. Okay, here's the next thing. We get to questions at the end. In our program, you're going to be doing this in a large room. Typically, we use the top floor of the downtown library because it's a really cool place to go give a pitch. And it's also free of charge. I really like that part, okay? So it's a big, beautiful room, and you're overlooking the waterfall. But you got your backdrop is a the Spokane waterfall. Really kind of cool. You're standing up there, waterfall's behind you, you got lights around you, and you got a room full of chairs, and you got your microphone. Okay. We're asking questions at the end, and I'm running back and forth to the judges, handing the microphone to each judge. What are you going to do, Noemi? Somebody asks you a question. They got a microphone. Are you answer the question?
Can you repeat it back to them?
You repeat it back to them. Make sure you, 2 reasons why. So the rest of the audience hears the question, and 2, to make sure you didn't get the question wrong. And 3, which is the most important part that most people forget, it gives you time to think about it. It's a delay tactic. You have to answer questions for 5 minutes. You want that 5 minutes to go as quick as possible, right? Because you want the fewest questions as you can in a competition. But you want to use the entire 5 minutes. So you're repeating it back slowly to make sure of, as a courtesy to everybody in the room, that they heard it, and B, make sure that you understood it. Do you follow? Okay. Because some of our judges haven't figured out how to operate a microphone. They're 60 years old, they still hold it down here. And so all you hear is their voice, and you don't actually hear the judge. Okay? Just give up on them sometimes. So anyway, by repeating it, saying, what I understood you to ask was blah, blah, blah. Now, that gave you a chance to roll it over your head and figure out how I'm going to answer this intelligently. Okay? That makes sense? So, and at the end of your answer, what are you going to say, Noemi?
After you answer, or
Yeah.
if there are no further questions?
No, you're going to say, sir or madam, did that answer your question?
No.
You added another delay tactic, another chance to breathe. Okay? If they ask you a question, a lot of times you say, good question, right? These are things to do. Why am I giving you these delay tactics? To keep you from going, What is,
Some people's favorite word.
You just said, all right. What is, Michael?
It's like a delay tactic. So when we're doing a replacement.
All right, you did it right there. I don't know the answer. So the brain gets stuck. Okay? It's like a record player, all right? It's stuck. It's kind of going, it's trying to think of an answer. That means you don't have an answer on the top of your head. That means you're nervous. It shows that you're nervous. It shows you don't have an answer right off the top of your head, and you had to think about it. So you say, right? I'm saying, rather than saying, I'm asking you to say, good question. I just put a delay in there and gave myself a chance to think about an answer. Right? If the judge's question comes across really loud, you don't need to repeat it, but saying, that's a really good question, and then go into your answer. So now give my chance, my brain to catch up with the rest of me, to think about the question, to formulate an answer so I don't look like an idiot. What is the number one fear of people in the world? Okay, let's talk about in the top 5 fears of the world. Anybody know what number 3 is?
Probably death.
Death. Death is the 3rd highest fear. 3rd worst fear people have. The 2nd worst fear people have is the dentist. People would rather die than go to the dentist. Okay? All right? Number 1 is public speaking. You are welcome to everyone else in the world. You're terrified about public speaking? Great, so is the entire world. Most people die rather than get up in front of a group of people and speak. I do it for a living, but I can tell you, as a little boy, I was absolutely terrified. All the way through high school, I was absolutely terrified. Until somebody decided to fix my fear by throwing me into extemporaneous speaking in FFA. It means you're given a topic, you got 7 minutes to come up with a 5-minute speech. Now you're given 200 topics ahead of time. So I just went through and made sure that I could speak about any of the 200 topics, and then walk in there and somebody goes, you got 5 minutes to come up with a 7 minutes to come up with a 5-minute speech. And here's your topic. Okay? Somehow I made half of them about raising turkeys. It was actually kind of funny. So she knows that we raised turkeys as kids. Okay? But I could convert almost every one of those topics into raising turkeys. So I just had to just kind of modify things around. But I got over my fear. right? No, I did not get over my fear. I am scared to come in this morning. I've been afraid of every single presentation everywhere I've gone. The butterflies don't die. But eventually you develop a baseball bat inside your stomach and you whack a few of them down and you get up and do it. And then afterwards sweat like BBs. Okay, I've come out of speeches where I was completely soaking wet from head to foot. It was easy, the easiest speech I gave was to that room full of generals. There was some old damn much brass in that room, sink a battleship with all the wet metals in there. Why? Why was that an easy speech? It was an easy pitch. I knew who they were. They were top star generals. What is that? Why is that an easy person to talk to? You were in the military.
Yep.
Why were they easy to talk to? Because you knew they were going to be professional. You knew they were going to be polite. You knew they were going to be formal. You knew they weren't going to ask something stupid. And they knew that I, as a contractor, knew they want to know yes or no, is this going to work for me or not? And I also knew they weren't going to waste any time. They're busy, busy people, and they didn't want to be there. So they wanted this over as quick as possible and out. So that means you're dealing with an audience that says, say what you need to say, and then I'm hitting the door. I said what I needed to say, I hit the door, they didn't ask hardly any questions, and we got the contract. Right? That's why I like them. Who are the people I don't like? Suits. You walk into a room wearing a 3-piece suit with a big red tie. What do I know about you? Absolutely nothing. You could be the janitor wearing a suit. You could be the CEO wearing the suit. You could be somebody just sent in to disrupt the meeting. You could be somebody who actually wants to know what's going on. I know nothing about you. You walk in wearing brass, I know exactly who you are. It has your name on there, and we know your rank, and sir, we know your rank, we see your name. I know exactly that you're here in this role. I know exactly what you're going to do. But when you have somebody walk in just a suit, you have no idea who they are. So what are you going to do?
Maybe
Jaden, come up with something. What are you going to do?
generalize it.
No, almost. I'll use a military term. Recon. Before you go to that meeting, figure out who's coming. Google their name. Find out who they are. What do they do? What do they look like? If the person sitting there has the guy's name on it, but doesn't look like the guy, then you go, hey, now your picture on the internet sure looked a lot different.
Scout them out.
What's that?
Scout them out.
Scout them out. Know who they are. Know what their background is. Know why they're there. What is this person doing in the room?
Facebook.
What's that?
Like, just, I don't know. This is weird. Just scout who they are on social media. Maybe, like, gets to get a little information.
Or go to the company webpage.
Or that.
How your voice is going after 2 days of this. First thing I do is I go to the company webpage and see who the company executives are. And if I'm supposed to be meeting with a CEO and it's a woman CEO and a dude walks in the room, I don't have the CEO in the room. That was a pretty good dead giveaway, right? So when you're looking at who should you be talking to, and you've looked at their pictures on their webpage, and you know what they, and you say this is a list of people going to be there, and you can see them right on the company webpage, then I know who I'm talking to. So that decreases your fear level because now you know what you need to present. Okay, so let's say we're having a meeting, and the person who's meeting you at the meeting is a purchasing agent and the CFO. What does that tell you about how you modify your pitch? You're going to focus on the
Money.
focus on the money. Okay, you have a meeting, and the head of engineering and the head of the machine shop is showing up. What are you going to focus on?
Manufacturing design.
The design and the manufacturing cost, manufacturing time, right? The design qualities. Are you focused on the money? You'll glance over it, okay? Tweak your proposals, tweak your presentations to who's going to be in the room. Yeah.
Would it be smart to have, like, let's say a bigger PowerPoint, and based on who you're speaking to, like, pull out pieces that you can
You typically know 3 or 4 days in advance who you're going to see. When I was traveling for ISR, and I was traveling 22 days a month, by the end of the first year, I did this for 4 years, I couldn't keep track of what hotel I was in because I stayed in the same hotel chain. But when you stay in the Marriott Residence Inn, every Marriott looks like every other Marriott. They don't look any different. If you're staying in Staybridge, if you're staying in, Staybridge was the other one I stayed a lot in. All the Staybridge Inn and Suites were exactly the same furniture, same paintings, same carpet, same bathroom, same layout of the room. When you wake up and it's 5 o'clock in the morning, do you know where you are? You can look out in the parking lot and you'll see cars. What does that tell you?
You're alive.
You're in a hotel. All right. So it got to the point when Corey would call me up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You're in Minneapolis. You're supposed to be in DC by 10. You're seeing Colonel Oldland at 2. I've sent you your set of slides. Open up your email, download your new set of slides, and get on and go pack up for the plane. Because when you wake up in the morning, are you packing up to go on a plane? Are you packing up and going to an office? Am I going to United Defense to talk to those guys? Am I flying off to the Pentagon? Am I going back to California? I didn't know where I was going most mornings. Her husband hated me because quite often I was on the East Coast and they lived in Clarkston, Washington. So keep in mind, so 5 in the morning, my time when I'm on the East Coast is 2 a.m. So she'd get up at 2 a.m., call me up and tell me where all my stuff was. Okay, I paid her big bonuses. All right, but, okay, this is before we have the modern phones that tell you every place you're supposed to be. I mean, we didn't have that service back in the 90s. All right, but it was hugely beneficial to me. Now my cell phone does the same thing. But, there's a cell phone. All right, so when we're looking at that cell phone, it now rings in the morning, says, here's where your first meeting is. So when it goes off at 5:30 this morning, said my first meeting was here at 8 o'clock, right? So I knew what I was doing. But during that time period, I oftentimes didn't know who I was going to. Corey's job was to make sure I had the right pitch deck. So I had a pitch deck for the manufacturing, I had a pitch deck for finance, I had a pitch deck for technical sales, and she would pull, and then my engineering team kept them up to date. So as I'm flying to go see United Defense, or flying out to talk about the AAAV pictures were put in place. When I was going to talk about the Crusader, there's Crusader pictures in place. If I was going back to meet with the old generals and tell them about how we updated the Paladin, it sounds like you drove a Paladin for a while.
Yep.
All right. So I was working on the.
It was Alpha 7.
Okay, excellent. So I was working on the replacement for the Paladin, which eventually got killed, and then replaced it with this wheeled disaster with a 120 on it. Okay, I like the Crusader. You'll go look up the Crusader. It's a lot of fun to work on. Okay, but they would just substitute out the picture slides. Okay, doing technical sales. It's the same box that's being used in both vehicles, but we'd replace the vehicle information. And so when I get on the plane, I then I look at that slide deck, go through that slide deck to make sure I know which one I'm doing. So when I walk in to see the customer, I know I have the right slide deck up and I'm reviewing the right slide deck. Are you guys following this? So when we're doing investing pitches, when we go to meet that investor, you need to make sure you are hitting them with the information they want. So when I was working on ag energy, and I was trying to get my first big investment from the Coles family, I had read that Stacy Coles was really wanting to get Betsy Coles really wanted her brother Stacy to start investing in alternate energy. I was able to get a 15-minute meeting with him. At 15 minutes, I came in, had my slide on the computer, but also I had printed them up. But he didn't have a projector in his room. So I put the computer away and I handed him a printed up version of the slide set. So you could flip through the slides. And we went through the slides one at a time. And I got into that third slide. Stacy reaches over to his phone, pushes it, and I can't remember the name of his receptionist, said, I need 2 hours. I knew right then and there I had investment. And yeah, I got $5 million. So, are you guys following that? When you do it right, and in that case, I had the environmental pitch put together. I wasn't doing the technical pitch. I wasn't doing the alternate energy pitch. I wasn't doing the biochar pitch. I was pitching how we're saving the environment. And he goes, and he told me right there, he told me I have to invest in something that's alternate energy that's going to save the planet. So we did. We pitched it. Okay, and over the time, he's put in a lot more than that amount. Okay? I think that actually the first investment was $2 million. But over the years, we've got a lot more than that. I'm not supposed to say how much. Okay? But he owns a majority of the company now. He truly believes in where it's going. Okay? So, very grateful for the man for what he's doing. But it was, I knew I had him when he reached over and says, I need 2 hours. I only had a 15-minute meeting, which means she went and cleared the rest of his schedule. You guys, so I'm giving these stories, I'm giving these examples of what the power of the pitch can be, how that pitch can be used to create what you need.